also noticed that the Durham police said was that they were going to take no action and that the matter was closed. And I intend to draw a line under the matter, as I said, I think yesterday to the Parliamentary Liaison Committee. They're not taking any action, and I intend to draw a line under it. And all I can say, I know that you've asked Chris and Patrick, but I'm going to interpose myself, if I may, and protect them from what I think would be an unfair and unnecessary attempt to ask a political question. It's very, very important that our medical officers and scientific advisors do not get dragged into what I think most people will recognise is fundamentally a political argument. And if that's all right, Laura. And could we go now to Robert Peston of ITV?
Hello. Just to be clear, I don't think this is a wholly political question, Prime Minister. I mean, a number of the scientific advisors to the SAGE committee have said that the behaviour of your chief advisor in not going into quarantine at home risked more people not complying with the social distancing rules. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask Sir Patrick and Chris Whitty whether they fear that compliance with these rules will be reduced as a result of this. And second quick question. Yesterday, Prime Minister, you said you would ask Sir Patrick and Chris Whitty to review whether the appropriate social distance is 2 metres rather than 1 metre. Most businesses would much rather have 1 metre distance. Pubs and restaurants, many of them will be bussed at 2 metres. Is this something that Sir Patrick and Chris Whitty are looking at? When will we know the answer, whether it's safe to go to 1 metre?
Robert, thanks a lot. And look, I'm just going to repeat the point I've made just now. It is very important that our advisors are protected from being dragged into political controversy. And just to repeat the thing I've been saying in the last few days, we want to get some very clear and simple messages across to the British public. What they want to hear is what we're doing to tackle coronavirus, what the plan is. We've announced a huge amount today. I think people need to focus on those messages. And if I may respectfully say, I think that the rest of it is, you yourself argue that it's a distraction. Well, insofar as that is true, let's crack on with our programme and getting our messages across. And on your point about the social distancing distance and whether it should be 2 metres or less, I'll really hand straight over to Patrick and Chris.
Well, I'm happy to answer that. The evidence that we've got and that will be published, some of it's out and some of it's coming out very shortly, is looking at the distance that droplets and exhaled droplets and aerosol might travel. And 2 metres is a distance beyond which things are very safe, that you can see it dropping off quite quickly. But of course, it's not an absolute 2 metres beyond 2 metres is safe and slightly less is not safe. There's a graduation across that. And so roughly at a metre, it's somewhere between 10 and 30 times more risky than at 2 metres. What we've done in the paper is lay out clearly what the sorts of things are that you could do to mitigate against those risks. So we've not said it's 2 metres or nothing. We've said this is the scientific evidence that explains why 2 metres is a distance beyond which things are safer. And we've also laid out what the sort of things are that reduce those risks. So, for example, being back to back or side to side, and in some cases wearing face coverings, and in some cases looking at ventilation. There are many other measures you can look at. So this is not a policy, because we don't make policy, we give science advice, and we've laid out what the science advice is. From that, policy decisions can be made, and we've laid out a series of considerations that might allow people to think about what those policies should and could be.
Thanks. Sorry, Chris.
Could I add an additional point on that, which is if we want to really reinforce the point that if people are meeting in these new slightly relaxed social distancing guidelines in terms of meeting outdoors, it is essential that people maintain 2 metres, and that is really important. This risk has not gone away, and if people are outdoors and stay at 2 metres, very, 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 very small, not absolutely zero under any circumstances, but keeping that distance for people in different households is essential. And the second point I'd want to make on this is about the test and trace, the NHS test and trace system. If you do maintain 2 metres distance and the contacts you've had turn out subsequently have coronavirus, you will not be counted as a contact and you will not have to self-isolate. If, on the other hand, you don't, then actually, if they get coronavirus, A, you might get it, and B, because you might have got it, it is likely that you will have to self-isolate. So the 2 metres distancing helps individuals both protect their own risk and also means that they will not be contacts of people who actually have had a coronavirus episode.
Thanks very much, Chris. Can we go to Sam Coates of Sky News, please?
First, a question to Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty. Are you entirely comfortable with the Prime Minister telling you that you can't answer questions about Dominic Cummings, that if you can't give a verbal answer, a nod or a shake of the head will suffice? And is there anything else the Prime Minister has told you not to answer on? And Prime Minister, today the launch of Track and Trace could mean that at any point you might get a call from someone on behalf of the government telling you to quarantine for 14 days. Can you tell the nation, is this a no ifs, no buts instruction that you must follow, whatever your childcare arrangements, however important you think your job is?
It's very important. Well, let me. Do you want to answer the first question by by semaphore or otherwise? Or
I can assure you that the desire not to get pulled into politics is far stronger on the part of Sir Patrick and me than it is in the Prime Minister.
That's for sure. Yeah. Thanks. Yes.